Again,
Yeah, I think we should, in fact, as an organization, we all should have a policy
right.
because the major problem which I see is when somebody asks us for a document which is maybe 15 years old,
Mm.
and if you have a policy, of course, say of discarding records, you can say that you have discarded such records. But if there is no policy, and if the matter is either goes either to the court or before the information commission, then there is a problem, because then if you say I have destroyed it, then there's, or the file got lost or paper got
Mm.
lost, etc., then there is actually a technical issue with that. Because
Mm.
when something is destroyed without any policy, of course those documents are deemed to have with that particular institution. So that is why it's important that we have a policy wherein uh, you know uh, all these things are given in detail, and also for our staff also, life becomes little easier.
Mm.
Otherwise they don't know what to keep, what to what not to keep. So
Very
I mean, that is.
good.
So let us
Actually,
hope.
after your session only, we started working for the Maharashtra state. So let's see how it works. And once the first draft becomes ready, we are planning to invite you in that process.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's good for me to revise.
Yeah, but that day actually you were the host, so you were busy in several other things. But today
Yeah.
probably you will be able to listen.
No, that's my pleasure.
Lata madam, you're in office, your office, huh?
Yes, I'm in my office.
And Nisa also, I think Nisa is also in her office, huh? It seems.
She's muted, I think.
Yes, I'm in my office.
Hmm.
And Nisa also, I think Nisa is also in her office, huh? It seems.
Hello. Yeah, shall we start?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, namaskar and good morning to respected Chairman of Sarvajanik Education Society, Shri Kamlesh Yagnik sir, office bearers of SES and CGB, the eminent speaker of three-day virtual National Librarian Development Program, Dr. Akhtar Parvez, my colleagues at SES and CGB. Hello, Meenal, can you please mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. And dear participants, I'm delighted to welcome you all for this virtual National Librarian Development Program. It's my pleasure to share that after the gap of 3 months, once again, Chunilal Gandhi Vidya Bhavan is back with three-day virtual National Librarian Development Program on very important theme of library management processes. Moving further, It's my proud privilege to welcome and introduce the chairman of Sarvajanik Education Society, Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik. Sir has qualified MTech from IIT Mumbai. He was president of Southern Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Surat, in the year 2013-14. He was also past chairman of Computer Society of India, Surat chapter in the year 2012-13. He is executive committee member of Institute of Engineers, Surat branch. He is trustee of Surat Raktadaन Kendra and Surat Climate Change Trust. At present, Sir is putting his best efforts to bring social change in the city by inspiring and motivating citizens through Cycle for Challenge motion. So may I now please request respected Mr. Kamlesh Yagnik, sir, to address the virtual gathering. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Meeta, and good morning to everyone. It's indeed, I'm very pleased, in fact, to be a part of this 3-day virtual national librarian development program. And the resource person, Dr. Akhtar Parvez, who has been very, very close to Sarvajanik Education Society. So first of all, I must thank Dr. Akhtar Parvez for, bringing this development program into reality. And Dr. Meeta, I also must compliment you and your entire team for putting up a nice show. The way you have been doing it since lockdown, it's amazing. And all of you who are party to this and are always willing better for the library, for the people at large, because the immense contribution which librarians, or for that matter, library has made in society, we don't need to elaborate or we don't need to talk about it at all. We know it, for sure, so what a library can do for the society. And I'm very, very pleased that this 3-day seminar, the 3-day workshop, the entire process, which is very aptly defined, starting from record retention policy to verification of the books, and more importantly, acquisition policy of books. Incidentally, like in today's Times of India, there's a beautiful blog written by Twinkle Khanna, and it's all about, she talks about the art of picking books, and letters he writes, and picking up lovers. But the three main thing, which she put it in her blog is the books, we refer based on its narrative style, the timelessness, the relevance, and the purpose. So this is very, very important, Akhtar Saab, for me, like to approach any book or a library, like go about narrative style, timelessness. It's very, very relevant. Whether we talk about books, like in any subject, this is very, very important. The relevance and the purpose of the book. So I'm very happy that you will be touching, very, very relevant sectors in the book, because like in a time like today, when the transformation, as we have seen, libraries have been transformed phenomenally, and we cannot deny the role of digital library. But despite the fact that the transformation takes place, the books, like they may be available now in a different form, but the relevance of books will never be lost. So it is equally important for us that how people of next generation will relate all this. The record retention policy, like we don't actually talk not only in terms of physical library, but the digital library also. We will have to devise a mechanism, and I'm sure during the course of discussions this issue will certainly come up, because we have to be after digital library. So that's something, like we are seeing it. And what will happen to libraries, say 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years from now, and in like a time to come in a near future, the subjects which we are talking about, what will be, how the recording will be done, or how the verification will be done, and how, what will be the acquisition policy. So I would want that the discussion takes place not only in current times, but moving forward 10 years from now. So these are, like a small thought I wanted to put up. But the more importantly, like I will talk about society, the Sarvajanik Education Society, in Surat. I'm sure many of you would know because Meeta has been an integral part of this society. But more importantly, she is also a director in Chunilal Gandhi Vidya Bhavan. Now, this Gandhi Vidya Bhavan, it is essentially a research cell of Savarjanik Education Society, where like some of the we have close to about 3,000 plus manuscripts, which are older than 400 plus years, and we have digitized everything. We have this Indian Manuscript Mission. They knew that yes, this is a treasure, and it is also now appropriately classified, and a lot of work I'm sure is done, which Meeta can share with all of you for the benefit of you and your institution and other research scholars who would be interested in knowing what the past was, because we have this manuscripts are available on different subjects. So that's something also very, very amazing, and I'm very happy that you will be deliberating for almost 2 hours every day. So it's amazing. And without taking much of your time, I wish best of luck to everyone. And Akhtar Sahib, once again, very, very happy and thankful to you for being with us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. As always.
Yeah, yeah, certainly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all the support and for enlightening us about the library, the work of library, and the way about the Sarojik Education Society and Chunilal Gandhi Vidya Bhavan. Now, may I now please invite Dr. N. Padma, librarian of Surat People's Bank English Medium College of Commerce and senior most librarian of Sarojik Education Society, to introduce the speaker of the session, Dr. Akhtar Parvez.
Thank you, Meta. Thank you, sir. Chairman, sir, thank you very much and very good morning to you.
Morning, man.
And this Sarvajanic Society has given a beautiful platform for the librarians. About others, I don't know, sir, but for the librarians, it is really very workable and beautiful platform.
No, you can't say that. Say that for all.
For others, I don't know. For the librarians, mostly. I have seen others librarians in other colleges and all. Then I feel we are very comfortable here to work. And so go on to Dr. Akhtar. Sir, as your name is telling, no, you are a man of fragrance of wisdom. And actually, there are so many words to tell about Akhtar, sir, but his name is self-explanatory. Okay, leave it the name. Let us go into his deeds. And another thing is, most of the librarians, they want to be the librarians of IITs and Indian Institute of Sciences and all. And Dr. Akhtar has started his career with Indian Institute of Management Indore. And there, simply, he was not a librarian, he was also advisory, some appellate authority on RTA matters. And it is another very great credential for a librarian, where librarians are used for seeking the information and then left. But sir, we are very proud that you have been the appellate authority on RTA matters at IIM Indore. And second feather in his cap is another feather, not second, I don't say. Another feather in his cap is the ManLibNet. He was the founder secretary of the ManLibNet, and I think I have seen that chronology of that ManLibNet. No, I have seen that he was the most successful general secretary because he was coming again and again and again as the general secretary of the ManLibNet. It simply nobody will achieve it only if we have that zeal to work for the upliftment of the librarians. Then only the network will be successful, and it is in your hands. Very successful network, sir. One of the very successful networks of librarians. And about his literature he contributed to in the library science. It is also immense. So many he edited or he has written 10 books, chapter wise or many wise. We can take it. Some 20 papers and 200 guest lectures he has given. And we are having such a person among us, and let us utilize him completely. And he is talking today about the most boring part of the librarianship. the acquisition and stock taking. Both are very, very boring. Cataloging, classification, and circulation, they are very beautiful modules for us. And so, sir, please, you give us energy to look into these factors again with a good and new zeal. And sir was Akhtar sir. He don't say, he many times he told me, madam, don't call me sir, and so many times. But sir, you are senior to me in knowledge, in expressing yourself. So I had to call you. And he has been the executive managing editor of Manlibnet Journal, Library Management. And he was a part of the editorial board of the e-journal, Library Science, and won Best Paper Awards many times. And I don't want to take more time about him because he's a man of very simple language, and it permeates so easily into our minds and into our soul, and we want to work on it. Sir, Chairman, sir, we have started one webinar on the pandemic conditions and how to start a library. He was the one. He was the one to give us such a simple solutions. No, even though everyone knows, but when we listen from a expert, no, then we feel yes, we should do it, and he makes us to work on that. So this is about actor, sir. And if I'm missed anything, sir, please forgive me. And but when you listen to him now, you will come to more and more about him. Thank you, Akhtar sir, for being again with us and for talking about acquisition, retention, and stock verification. Thank you once again. Thank you, Mita. Then on to the Akhtar sir. And please, the arena is yours completely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. And I don't know what to say because you said so much
No, I didn't
about
say
me
anything.
that it becomes very difficult to really. And I'm not sure whether I deserve all those things or not. But yes, you are right that these are very boring areas when it comes to acquisition
Yeah.
or these things. But at the same time, these are the most important thing in any library. So that is also a fact. So thank you, and I always, I was very happy when the chairman of the society said that I am part of the Sarvajanic Education Society. So thank you, sir. Thank you for saying this, and thank you, Dr. Mita, for inviting me. And uh, I am very thankful to all the people who have joined here in this group. So Meenal, Lata, then we have of course Padma Madam, then Niza, and of course Himakshi. She has been very kind in sending mails very regularly. So Ms. Padma said, I'll be speaking on three areas, that is record retention policy, and then stock verification, and on the third day I'll speak on acquisition part of any library. So let me just start my presentation, and uh, just, I'll just share my screen with you. And it is always very good to see the background of the office of the chairman, where it says the society has completed 100 years. So thank you for putting up that background, sir. So hope this screen is visible to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just start. Okay, so record retention policy for academic library is the topic of my today's discussion, and I will try to make it as simple as possible for all those who have joined this uh, webinar. I'll not like to tell you about my university. I have told this earlier to you also. So I'll straight away go to the topic. I'm starting this discussion with an old saying which says that if Muhammad does not go to the mountain will come to Muhammad. So, what does it mean in the context of libraries, and especially today uh, during this unprecedented situation like COVID-19? So here, it has become extremely important for us, the librarians, to ensure that we are able to provide services to our users, uh, whether they are in the library or whether they are at home or wherever they are. And we have to provide this information not just to our students but also to faculty and staff. So, for providing this information, you have to make sure that a lot of things that you have. Uh, are number one, to large extent digitized, and if not digitized, then at least you should be able to uh, give information about the bibliographic content of what you have. And as Yagnik Saab said about the relevance of books, so that is true that despite the fact that we have digitized in a big way, but still, the value of a physical book will always remain. And that reminds me of the fact that in the United States and also in other developed countries, what we see is that the sale of electronic books is going down, and the sale of print books is going up, and that is uh, perhaps the reason why Amazon has started opening bookstore in the United States. So, so I was saying, it is important that we provide services to user, and it is also important that we need to provide them timely services. Because if you don't provide, then whole essence of librarianship or library services is gone. So it is very, very important that we provide timely services. And how can we provide timely services? That always is a question. So unless you have systems in place, unless you have processes in place, you perhaps will not be able to uh, provide library services efficiently to your user. So what are the processes? We all work in libraries, and unfortunately what we see that there is no established process of doing something, whether it is circulation, whether it is acquisition, stock verification. So what happens ultimately that in the absence of any such document or established policy, we end up wasting a lot of time, not just of not just the librarian waste his time, but a lot of time is wasted of the whole staff of the library. Hence, it is extremely important that processes are developed, and those processes in libraries are very important. So, as I said, I'll be speaking on three things, starting with the record retention today, followed by stock verification tomorrow, and acquisition. And I am very sure, my presentation on stock verification will be useful to a lot of people, because this is one area which scares us a lot. We do not want to conduct stock verification in the fearing that we may end up giving a report that a large number of books have lost. But I would like to say that it is not the case, and hopefully tomorrow when I present the stock verification part, you will get a lot of clarity on that. So, let me first tell you what is the definition of information or record, which is given in the Right to Information Act of 2005. So, here, information means any material in any form, including records, documents, memos, emails, opinions, advices, press releases, circulars, orders, logbooks, and so many things, and information relating to any private body which can be accessed by a public authority. What is public authority? Basically, public authorities are primarily the government organizations, or those organizations which are substantially financed by the government. So those are also called public authorities in Right to Information Act. So here, everything is starting from, whether it is email, whether it is any paper, circular, everything, whether it is, audio recording, video recording, everything becomes information. And we have to make sure that, this information is properly classified, and it is easily accessible to people, whether it is our users or within the administration for various purposes. And records management is an essential function of an organization, and every organization, irrespective of its size, has a record. So whether the organization is big or small, they will definitely have records. And organization cannot function without referring to their records. What the chairman was saying, that if you see all the manuscripts, so we will know about our past. So here also, we cannot function in a library or in any organization unless we have access to past records. Because if we don't have access to past records, probably will not be able to take informed decisions in our organizations. And bigger the library is, more records you will find in the library. And as the records increase, definitely, the space shrinks or it comes down. So hence, it becomes extremely important for us to ensure that we use the space of any organization, and especially libraries, in a very optimal way. This is the report that is the state of the global paper industry of 2018. And this actually gives us some very surprising facts. It says that, paper consumption is at unsustainable levels, and globally it is steadily increasing, particularly in Asia. Also, it says that, global paper consumption has exceeded 400 million tons per year. So you can imagine, the kind of consumption that we have. In this report, I have taken this particular picture from this report, where if you see Asia, which of course comprises of India, I mean, the consumption of paper is quite high. And this is the statistics which I have taken from, Statista, which actually suggests that the production of paper and cardboard worldwide is huge, and the global paper production of paper, that is also quite huge. At the same time, the consumption is at times more than the consumption. Not I would not say the consumption, but demand for paper is more than the production. And this is the consumption of paper and paperboard in selected countries worldwide in 2017. And if you see, India, we are at number 5. And the reason, why I want to tell you about this consumption is that we are little sensitized about the use of paper, and we, to the extent possible, make our records in electronic form, because they are also, I would say, are recognized by everyone, all the stakeholders, after the Information Technology Act. So this is, total paper demand in India in, by segment. So what we see is that, packaging paper actually demand is, or the consumption is quite, and demand is quite high. And this is another statistics which actually tells you the number of sent and received emails per day worldwide from 2017 to 2023, and which is actually going up. And due to prevalent laws in different countries, it becomes mandatory or essential, especially for government and public sector enterprises, to ensure that records are retained or maintained as per the guidelines prescribed by the regulatory agencies. So, for example, what are regulatory agencies for, universities? It is UGC, it is MHRD, and of course, few other departments that we have. And most of the libraries are in the habit of keeping documents forever and hesitate taking a decision about discarding them. I when I was working on this particular area, I contacted few institutions, including premier institutions of the country, to check if they have a policy where records can be discarded as per that policy. But unfortunately, what I found that nobody had policy, and in every institution, they were dedicating a large amount of space for putting old papers. And some of the libraries have large number of files and documents occupying thousands of square feet of space. They do not have any policy guiding them on the retention period, unfortunately. We keep weeding out books from our libraries from time to time, as per policy. But here, when it comes to discarding of our administrative records like files, etc., we librarians don't pay much attention to this particular part. And everybody, when you want to destroy any record, somebody or the other in the institution will tell you that this record may be required sometime in the future. And that is the fear that we have, that what happens if it is required by someone in the future, what will be our answer. But if we have a policy, it makes our life simpler. So keeping records indefinitely may even consume more time of the workforce in locating required documents, because if you have large number of documents, of course staff will find it very difficult to locate unless those documents are properly classified. And even if they are classified and if you have large amount of records, I am sure it is going to be a problem, because you cannot keep all those documents at an, I would say, at an active place. So unless you have a great deal of space and a great deal of money, you can delay the day when something must be done, but probably you cannot avoid it. So on one day or the other, you will have to have a policy in place. So in such a scenario where records are created every minute, the organizations have to get rid of some documents which are of ephemeral nature. So what is ephemeral nature? The documents which do not last for very long, or you can say they last for on a very short time. Or retain, protect those which are required to be maintained or preserved for longer duration. So we'll have to make a distinction between those records which have to be kept for a longer duration, and of course the ephemeral nature documents. Hence, sooner or later, it becomes essential to discard some documents which are not important. Okay, so destruction of records without having a written order or policy may lead to confusion and legal complications, which I already said. It amounts to breach of Public Records Act of 1993, and it is punishable up to 5 years of imprisonment and also fine. So that is why it is important that we have a record retention schedule in all our organization, whether it is libraries or whether it is organization at large. And I always believe that a formal record retention policy will be useful for organizations having large volume of files and wanting to dispose of some of them. Bigger the organization, as I said, the more helpful the policy will be for such organization. And having a formal schedule for retaining or discarding of documents will reduce dependence on the memory of employee in managing records. So what we see in every organization, there are one or two people whose memory is very good, and whenever we want to locate a document, we get hold of those people and they always help us. But depending on the memory of one particular staff or few particular staff is not a good practice. If you are working anywhere. So the written policy or retention schedule will help the staff in taking an informed decision and retention or disposal of records. So sooner or later, as I said, it becomes essential to have a written document. So hence a well-documented schedule will not only guide organizations in record retention schedule, but also provide legitimacy to the destruction of records. So this is important, So if you have a policy, it provides legitimacy to the destruction of records in cases of legal or any other interventions. So, in other words, one may safely destroy records as per the policy if you have, without getting into any kind of trouble in the future, either under the Public Records Act or the Right to Information Act. And let me just give you one example of a case. Let me just a second. I'll just put microphone because I think there's some disturbance here. Just a second. Yeah. So, under RTI Act, what happened? There was a case where the public information said that the records have been destroyed. And that was the case of 2014. And the chairman of the commission, he passed an order saying that unless proved that records was destroyed as per the prescribed rules of destruction retention policy, it is deemed that records continue to be held by the public authority. Okay, and because there was no policy, that public information officer was penalized for rupees 25,000. As you all may be aware, that this 25,000 rupees actually is paid from the pocket of the public information officer and not by the organization. And there was another order, and it was publicized in the newspapers also, where the CIC, that is Central Information Commission, said that missing files are no excuse for denying information under Right to Information Act. And in a similar case in the year 2016, the PIO informed the CIC that some of the old records have been damaged and eaten by termite. Okay, so what happened in this case also? The commissioner observed that destruction of records by termite action is not a defense under the RTI Act, and again there was a penalty on that PIU of rupees 25,000 rupees. So, as I have said this a couple of times, a record retention schedule also acts an organization's safe harbor during litigation. So, what happens if you have a policy? You can always argue that you have destroyed records as per that particular policy. So we thought what we should do. We thought a lot that what we should do. Shall we devise a policy? If we have to devise a policy, what will be the guiding principle on that? And since I found that people were not having any kind of policy, I started looking for some documents on the internet and some government website. And interestingly, I found a document of 2012 of Government of India, and the document title is Record Retention Schedule in Respect of Records Common to All Ministries, Departments. And this was published by the Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. And when I saw the table of content of this particular document, so what I just a second, please. So what I found was that here on page number 43, you will find everything about library as to how what is the schedule for library records. And here, the records classification has been done using categorization prescribed under Central Secretariat Manual of Office Procedures of that department. So what then, after seeing this document, what I realized that despite the established record retention schedule of the Government of India, we hardly witness any formal policy in most of our libraries. And this was a document which is about the record retention period. So this is about if you see here, this is the library, and these are various subheads like ordering and receipt of books, records, then records relating to government publications, then records relating to ordering and receipt of periodicals, purchase of government publications. And what we found here is that such documents we have to keep for 3 years or 1 year after completion of an audit, whichever is earlier. So this is the government such advice on keeping these records for so many numbers of years. Similarly, about lending or transfer, requisition, reminders, etc. It is 1 year, or 3 years, or 1 year after completion of an audit, whichever is later. And similarly, what we see is that binding of books is 3 years, and then selection of books, selection committee of books, then 1 year, 1 year after the completion of the audit. Then we see writing of books, that we have to keep these records permanently when we write of books. And similarly, auction of newspaper, and then membership of library association, etc. So now after seeing this document record, we thought we must prepare a policy. And then we realized that perhaps destruction of records is probably more complex than creating records, as the most obvious reason is that someone in the organization, outside the organization, might still need some of the records you wish to destroy. Okay, so organization which have several sub organizations, like for example here at my university, we have 12 satellite campuses. So in such cases, it becomes more the this activity become more complex. And the same is true for Sarvajanic Education Society, because you have so many schools, you have so many colleges. So there, the process of developing a policy becomes more complex, because it requires complete knowledge of the documents that exist in various departments or satellite campuses and so on. But one thing, which must that we must take into consideration is that record retention policy must be in complete compliance with the prevailing law or relevant act. And here, in this case, as I said, one is Public Safety Act, and the other is the Right to Information Act. So the policy must contain justification for each retention policy, each retention period. It should not happen that without giving any thought, you simply give this document. You say that this document should be kept for 3 years, this should be kept for 5 years, and this should be kept for permanently. So you have to have necessary justification, for each retention period of various documents. And if required, though the government guidelines gives you a broad, classification or the period, but here, it is important that we do necessary customization. Also, we must ensure that a responsible or senior staff should be given the responsibility of naming and coding of new and existing files for easy retrieval. And we also must ensure that there is no duplication. So, for example, on one at one place, I say that. It is the file is named acquisition of books, and when we create the second file on the same subject, it is books or acquisition, etc. So the name should be, what I'm trying to say, should be the same, whether it is the file is opened in this year or after 5 years. So that will actually give us a complete control uh, on understanding or doing customization. And though what you saw in the government policy, it was that at some cases you can destroy records after 1 year. But in my opinion, to be on the safer side, there is no harm in keeping documents for 3 years, though they have been though the guideline is only for 1 year. And here, the role and responsibility of records management of different employees should be clearly defined and communicated. So what I'm saying is, say, if there are few sections, like one is acquisition, then the other is, say, circulation. So there should be one person, who should be responsible for records of his or her area, because they are the ones, he will know better about their records, and they should be consulted for developing any policy. So I think the policy, also needs to be reviewed, because what we see in general acts or laws, that there are a lot of amendments once those laws are made. And similarly, here also there could be a possibility that some records, some new type of records have been added. So you need to actually review those records so that those things are added in your record retention policy. And as I said, that nomenclature should be same, and location and ownership of every file should be defined in that particular. If you have an Excel file, then there it is the responsibility of the librarian to ensure that the location and ownership are properly defined. And there is a need for proper monitoring of the policy compliance. That has to be done by the librarian if it is about the library records. And whenever we make such policy, it is extremely important that we take necessary approval from the competent authority. For example, in case of university, I should take approval from the library committee, and then I should take approval of the academic council, and then finally it should get approved by the executive council, because executive council is the topmost body for making any decision uh, about any affair of the university. So it is important that we take necessary approval so that we don't get into any kind of problem in the future. So this is a table which actually shows us how we defined a policy here for our library. So what we see here, though the government document which I showed you a few minutes back was completely different from here, but the major guidelines have been followed. So what we did is, there are a lot of subcategories under acquisition, like book acquisition, book recommendation, audiovisual purchase, books purchase. There are a lot of things which you see here. Similarly, under technical section, what we have done is we have given accession register, then binding books, etc., and of course classification, all those things. Then under circulation, these are the things that we should keep under e-resources. These are things, and on the right hand side, we have written that these things should be discarded after so many years. Okay, and here, what we see under general administration and miscellaneous records is that things like stock verification and audit CAG queries, responses, etc., etc. These furniture records related to furniture, maps, renovation, etc. That preferably we should keep permanently. And of course the communication with other departments, like our deans, vice chancellor, etc. So this we thought we should give 5 years here. And this was as per the documents that we had in our library. And then the last, I think it is not properly visible to you, but there are various registers that we have, like air conditioned plant register, housekeeping issue receipt of capital items, etc. So that also we thought we should give 5 years. But having decided about this particular schedule, what I always try, that to the extent possible, even the records that we are discarding, we try to keep an electronic copy of these records, just for the safety purpose. That's all, nothing else. But if you are keeping a electronic record, it is extremely important that those electronic records are also uh, kept at a safe place in a safe server. And not just we should keep such electronic copies at on one server. In fact, it should be at 2 3 places, so that if server goes bad, you see, we should not cut a sorry figure that we do not have this particular record. So what we also do is, off late we have started doing accessioning in Google Sheet, and then we convert it to Excel. And once it is done, we take a printout of that and make it a accession register, and we sign wherever required. So, if you have a record retention policy properly executed and implemented in any organization, you will find that you and your staff will not have to waste time in searching documents which are scattered uh, at different places. And if your college or library is small, probably you will not have that problem. But if it is a big setup, then the problem will be more. But let me also tell you that even if you have a small setup, make sure that you start developing a policy from now onwards, so that once your organization becomes big, you should not face any kind of problem. And I always keep saying that, in fact, I always do. I did at IIM Indore also. So what we did, we had a lot of photographs. When IIM Indore was, the foundation stone was laid down by the then chief minister. No, I think the president of, Prime Minister Deve Gowda, and of course the chief minister of Madhya Pradesh was there. So those were the rare pictures. And then we had a picture where, when IIM Indore started, it started with the batch of 37 students, and now you may be aware that they have a MBA batch of 450. So the first batch photo, etc. So what we did is we digitized everything, and we classified everything and kept it one place. And now whenever I want to search for a document or photo, I can very easily do it. And same thing we have started doing here at my university. So all the like annual reports that we had of last 20 years or so, though we have last 15 years annual reports in electronic copy, but the previous annual reports we do not have. Similarly, there were a lot of magazines which were published by our university. So we are making a very serious and sustained effort to digitize everything and keep it with us, because after 50 years it will become difficult for anybody who is here to lay hands on those old printed copies. So and I always say that it is very essential that, you see, we use technology. And unless we use technology, probably we will not be able to achieve accuracy. Because if we adopt proper technology, we will avoid duplication of efforts. And we can always, on that work, we can always do incremental improvement. And this creating a policy is only a one time job, and it is just incremental improvement that you do every year, or once in 3 years or 5 years. So I think, in the conclusion, I would like to say that libraries world over follow best practices in managing their records concerning acquisition, classification, circulation of library material, and so on. However, most of the libraries do not have an established system of maintaining administrative records concerning subscription, payments, and general library administration. An established and well administered record retention policy will lead to a uniform retention guidelines within libraries, and may provide confidence to such institutions that records are preserved long enough to meet minimum legal requirement, and documents which are of ephemeral nature are weeded out in a time bound manner. So what we did, at IIM Indore, we, in fact, there were about 1,000 files that we have at various locations in the library. So what we did, we discarded 800 files out of that, because those 800 files were not of any use. That's what we analyzed. So I always say that good libraries are process driven, and bad libraries are librarian driven. This does not mean that I'm undermining the importance of the library, but what I am saying, that every organization should be process driven, and we should not just work hard, but we should work in a very smart manner, uh, always. So with this, I would like to thank you, and thank all the participants, and of course the Sarvanik Education Society, and in particular Yagnik Saab, for giving me this opportunity, and considering that I am part of your institution. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parvez, for a very important session on record retention. So there are a few questions. If you allow me, I'll
Yeah, sure.
ask.
Please. I'll be very happy.
So there is one question that is it mandatory to maintain physical accession register when in this technology-driven age, we can use the computer to maintain these records?
This is actually a very important question, and I must congratulate the person who has asked this question.
Somebody is
Because-
from Librarian Brigade Foundation. I don't know the name of the.
Oh, okay. Uh, personally, I am always against maintaining a physical copy of the accession register, as long as we have proper, we have a accession register in a PDF format or any other format kept at a safe place. But what happens that in our system today that we see, especially in public enterprises, or you can say the government organization, is that when auditor come for auditing, especially from this when people come from CAG, they always want to see the hard copy of the accession register. And so what we have done here is that what earlier we were doing is, before 3 years back, what we were doing, we were entering all the information of the book in the accession register by hand. So from last 2 years, what we started doing, that we directly enter the data in our software, or you can say, I will be speaking on this acquisition part day after tomorrow. But what we did is that we made a PDF of accession register, and after making a PDF, we kept copies at 2-3 places. And for the satisfaction of the auditors, what we did, that we took a printout, and I signed that register, so that this becomes an authentic copy for other administrative purposes. And good that we did it, because just few days back, we got a call from the audit office saying that CAG have come for auditing, and they wanted to see the accession register. So I mean, it is still needed, so we can't help it really. But it is better to keep a physical copy in the library. But I'm very sure, in the years to come, there will be a time when we are not required to keep a hard copy or physical copy, I would say.
What happens, here the work is getting duplicated, the work is increasing. You have to keep the physical copy.
That is why I'm saying, instead of entering the data in the accession register by hand, you do it in the software, and then you take a printout and make a physical copy of the accession register after signing it with proper stamping. And I don't think then they should have any problem, as long as it is a physical copy signed by the librarian.
Right. That's true. Thank you. Okay, there is one more question from Saira. Is there any government decided policy or guidelines declared specifically for official documents, for weeding out or retaining the official documents?
Yes, Saira, it is there. What I referred in my document also. There is a document by Department of Administrative Reforms, Government of India. If you want, I can share a copy with you. But the problem with that document is when we talk of the library, it does not have all the documents that we generally see in our library. Okay, it has classified only major documents that any library could have. But this report was 2012. That government document, now it is 2020. I'm sure a lot of things have changed. So as I also mentioned, that you can always customize. You need to customize basically. If you customize, you can add more documents into that, and as long as it is approved by the decision-making body of Delhi School, I'm sure you see there should not be any problem. But broadly, you should follow the principles given in that document.
Thank you. There is one more question. Who can handle accession register in library staff?
मुझे लगता है जो थोड़े आपको लगते हैं ठीक है. देखिए, कभी-कभी व्हाट हैपेंस समटाइम्स दैट There may be deputy librarians, assistant librarians, and at times you will find that there is one professional assistant or some other staff who is more capable, okay, who can do much more what the senior staff can do. So you will have to identify actually whom you want to assign this responsibility. As such, there is no guideline that only assistant librarian should do or only professional assistant do. It all depends on you. You have to, as a reporting officer, you have to assign these jobs to them as per their capability. And this is it is a very important skill that every librarian should have, is that he or she should identify the strength and weakness of every staff, so that you are able to properly assign work to them.
But the final signature will be of
Librarian.
Yeah.
Because ultimately he's the head of the department. He will be answerable to audit people, not assistant librarian or deputy librarian.
Okay, there is one more question from Sazia Alvi. Do you think we need to maintain accession register for perpetual ebooks?
Very good question, Shazia. Very good question. Excellent question. I'm so happy to receive such questions. Shazia, there are two kinds of books. One is, of course, the e-books that you have for perpetual access, and the other is which you have to renew every time. So you should never accession those books which are not perpetual. Now, sometimes when publishers get the licensing agreement signed by the library or librarian or the registrar, they have defined in that licensing agreement that the access will be available for 20 years, 25 years, or 30 years, and after that there will be a platform fee, etc. So first thing is that you must make sure that when you negotiate or when you purchase ebooks from them, you must make sure that the access is for unlimited number of years without any platform fee or annual charges or any kind of other commitment. Like, for example, sometimes publishers say that we will not charge any annual fee or platform fee as long as you keep buying at least 5 books every year, or books worth $500 every year. We have no problem. But that is up to you how best you negotiate. And once you have books for perpetual access, my suggestion is that always get Mark 21 records from the publisher. Once you get Mark 21 records from the publisher, you say like what we have in our library. We have, I think, about 600-700 or I think 800 ebooks in our library. So we have obtained Mark 21 records from different publishers, including Oxford University Press, Cambridge, Elsevier, Emerald, etc. And what we did is that we have imported those records into Koha. So the URL which is given, that is also recorded in our software. And anybody, see, if I am searching my OPAC, what I find is, if I'm looking for some book on, say, for example, particular book, Principle of Mathematics by so and so. So if I have electronic copy and if I have print copy also, so I will get details of both the books. So if, say, for example, the print copy is not available, so I will have the option of immediately, opening the electronic copy. And a lot of libraries, in fact, majority of libraries, I see that they put up a separate list of ebooks on their website. I think that should be avoided to the extent possible. The record should be merged with the regular collection of the book, because integration is something which is very, very important in our libraries. Unless our records are integrated, believe me, your users will waste a lot of time in going to different websites. And so at times, they will not even remember which are different sites where I'm supposed to. I mean, there may be one URL for going to ebooks, one URL for going to e-journals, one for OPAC, the other for institutional repository. So my suggestion to you is that Shazia, if you get time, please see our OPEC, and we have Koha. So you see that particular page, and on that page we have given links to everything, so that a user just is supposed to see only one page, and he does not need to remember so many websites or URLs. And yes, the question, yes. So since you have perpetual access, so there is no problem in having giving it accession number in different series. I mean, for print books, of course, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4. But for electronic books, you can have EB-1, EB-2, like that. So that when you take a printout of accession register from Koha, you are able to see those electronic books or identify those e-books. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, there's one more question by Thomas. Can librarian read out books or documents based on his or her own decision, or have to discuss with other library staff?
No, I think what is important is that whenever, because it is an asset for any organization, a book is an asset, and you have to account for each and every asset of the library. Like, for example, if you are reading out, then what is the policy of read out? Let me give you one example. So, if I have a book on computer science, and the same book is published next year, second edition, then third edition, fourth edition. So, what do I do with the first edition? So, first edition I must read out, but on what basis? So, it is better that you have a flexible policy in your library, which is approved by the library committee. Because if you take a decision on your own of removing any book from the library, probably it will backfire. So whatever such decision are taken in the library, one must make sure that the approval of the library committee has been taken, because the library committee is the body which needs to or authorized to take such decision. Why I'm saying this? In case there is some problem next year when the director changes or the vice chancellor changes, so he says, how did you read out? This was such an important book, and he or she the vice chancellor may be right also. But if you have a backing of your library committee decision, then probably the life will be easier. You can also say that, sir, it was not just me, it was all the deans, HODs who were involved in this decision making. And of course, any library committee minutes are approved by the competent authority, that the vice chancellor generally. So ultimately, the competent authority will be responsible for any such decision, and you will not get into any trouble in the future.
There's one more question from Pratima. Are there any standard readout policy for academic library, especially for college library?
There is no. I don't think there is any policy. I several times, thought of developing a policy, but unfortunately we could not. But major things could be like old editions, and then books which are damaged. So what you can do is you get a replacement of that title if they are important. If they are not important for your library, make sure that you read out after taking approval of the library committee. So as long as you do not have any policy, so my suggestion is you take your own decision, make a proper judgment, and after deciding about that, you recommend to the library committee for reading out those books. So once library committee approves it, once the vice chancellor or director approves it, then there's no problem.
So in continuation, she's asking like which features or conditions are considered for readout of books.
Yeah, as I said, if there are old editions, for example, if the book is damaged, okay, if the book, say, is, I would say, I should not, if, say, for example, if the book is lost, okay, so even if you feel that maybe, this book is lost, and instead of stating that the book is lost, let me propose for its readout. So that is one option, but I don't say that you should get into that. I mean, I always say that you see, one should never fudge with the records, because if not today, tomorrow somebody will catch you. And fudging of documents is, I mean, you should never venture into this kind of things. So, I mean, these are some few things. There of course could be more. If you think, books are not used for last 20 years, that book has not been used, and you find that there are a lot of space you need in the library for newer books or important books. So that is another option where you can think of reading out books.
Okay, there is one more question by Naresh Ram. I think it will go in the stock verification, but still, let me ask you, how to recover lost book cost as
That
per
we will discuss.
acquisition?
Yeah.
That will
That we will
come
discuss in the
stock verification.
so that we make sure Mr. Ramesh is there in the to stock.
Naresh Ram.
Sorry, Mr. Naresh is there.
Okay. Rosina is asking, what is the correct process of bidding in the library? Is there any rule?
So I think we already discussed this.
Discuss that. Okay. There are certain questions again on the right of books and everything. I think that will come into the stock verification.
Correct.
So I think we'll take those questions during that sessions.
Yeah, tomorrow I think we are doing that. So tomorrow we'll take up all those questions. Maybe you can just mark these questions for that
yes.
day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There's okay. I think we are now ending with the question answer session. So now may I request Ms. Dr. N. Padma to deliver the formal vote of thanks. Padma ma'am.
You are muted, Padma madam.
Madam, unmute yourself.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mita and sir. Very much thankful to you for simply telling. We can without written the books in such a simple way with the help of the library committees and all. And actually, that is the process every librarian is supposed to do. And when you tell it, no, then it goes into the brain. Otherwise, we just carry it on. And also, first, I want to thank our education societies, Sarvajanic Education Societies Chairman Sir, Shri Kamlesh Agni, for giving this platform to conduct the webinar on such an important issues on the library. And Dr. Mita Rathod, actually, she is the brain for everything. What is going on in the education societies, librarian movement in our societies. She's so dynamic and all. Thank you, Mita. Be like this and show some more light on this librarianship and its betterment in our society. And all the participants who had made it a really great success. And because why I say success is they were giving such a questions no, they're putting on like this simple to serious questions they were putting on. So for that, I'm very thankful to them. And sir, again, we want to meet you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Lata ma'am and Neza madam, everyone, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Padma madam. So with this, we come to an end of today's session. And once again, we will meet tomorrow morning, same time at 11:30 a.m. Till then, goodbye, stay safe. Thank you, Dr. Parvez.